Welcome to Please Me, the podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sexual education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap one empowering conversation at a time. Last week, I interviewed Mia Savan, a steamy romance novelist who weaves power, money, and sex into her plot, full of intrigue, plot twists, and hot sex scenes. Her heroines are strong, powerful, and know what they want. This episode is a must-watch. Check out the show notes for a link to Patreon for access to my latest commercial-free podcasts and exclusive content. Please Me is for mature audiences. Sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
If we are more than half of the world's population, and there are 50 million women in America as we speak experiencing the magical merry-go-round of menopause, and 1.5 billion women will be in the magical merry-go-round of menopause in 2025, which is about 2 seconds from now. Why would we be forced to pay out of pocket to make sure that our brain functions, to make sure that our hearts work, to make sure that our bones are not creaking and breaking, to make sure that we have pleasure when we are having intimate relations with our partners?
Welcome to Please Me, the podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I am so excited today to bring on Davida Elizabeth Arnold. She is the founder of We The Aunties, a wellness collaborative supporting underrepresented menopausal women through education, programming, and more. And with that being said, I just want to bring you on and welcome you to Please Me. How are you today, Davida?
I'm great. Hello, Eve, and everyone tuning in. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm here with Eve. We're going to get pleased and we're going to do auntie things. I'm great. You may notice that my hair is being transformed as we speak because aunties keep it moving. And so we're going for a new twist then. And I'm here with my lovely, wonderful, amazing stylist in the background. So, we're keeping it real life because aunties have things to do and we're all here to be together. I'm thrilled.
Yes, I'm so excited. This is our take on LeBron James's barbershop show. So this is the Please Me version with We The Aunties. And this is so much fun. I love that you're getting your hair done while you're having a conversation with me. This is real life stuff. With that being said, I want to just ask you exactly why you started this platform, We The Aunties. Tell me about your journey.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Eve, that's a great question. I started We The Aunties because menopause tried to take me out. January 30th was the day where years of menopausal mismanagement through medical and benefit providers finally led me to crash my car. I was fatigued. I was worn out. I was completely done. And when I came out of that, I was pissed off. And when I'm pissed off, I start looking for answers and better hold someone accountable. And I started really digging deep into talking to other women who were in my age range. And initially the conversation came back burnout, but what became increasingly clear and then led me to launch We The Aunties was the fact that this was happening around the peri through postmenopause magical merry-go-round, as I call it. So while there may be burnout presenting on the top, what was consistent across all of the women is that they were dealing with the magical fluctuations that go with progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone leaving our body. And that's when I decided that there was something bigger to do. And I started asking customer after customer and used my training from my lean startup methodology and my MBA to really dig deep and get to some core answers. And voila, We The Aunties was born as a wellness collaborative that supports underrepresented menopausal women through education, programming, and joy-filled experiences so that no auntie is left behind or wrapped around a hole.
Yes, that is a super powerful story. And I can totally relate because I personally have such a hard time driving and staying awake. And I feel like that is the time that I really get the sleepiest because it's such a boring experience to just sit and do nothing but drive. And I think maybe because I have ADD or I don't know what, then I'm constantly doing multiple things at once and that keeps me alert. But in the car, I don't have that experience because you have to just focus on one thing, right? And so when you're exhausted, you're burnt out, as many of us are, and you're experiencing this roller coaster of hormone fluctuations that can really cause brain fog and can really cause fatigue, exhaustion for years, right? And then you go to your doctor and you're not getting answers.
Yeah.
This is, the result of that. I'm so happy and appreciative that you found the answers and that you're helping others in that way. So, just out of curiosity, what are the menopausal symptoms that you personally have experienced?
Yeah. Eve, that's a great question. And I like to also just add on to the fact that you brought up your own experiences with that fatigue, right? So, what I like to position it as, just like every woman has a different menstrual experience, every single woman has different peri through postmenopause experience. And I'm even going to be very specific in the fact that for us at We The Aunties and for ongoing information that's being developed, depending on what cycle or which segment you're in, menopause can be used as the term for the whole wheelhouse, peri through post. I was having a discussion with a medical leader, a decision maker, and I said, we do not say peri-menstruation. We don't say post-menstruation. Yet once again, the taxonomy, the nomenclature for what is one of the more challenging segments of our life, where we could experience things like brain fog, is segmented into three different things. Why are you extra words? Why do we have to be burdened with this now of all times? So one of the things that we're looking at, brain fog, restlessness, sleepless nights. For some women, you have the presentation of bone loss. There are increases in cavities, even in women who are going through peri through postmenopause because of the bone loss, right?
Right.
Out of the blue, it's what are you doing? You're going to the dentist. The dentist says you have a cavity. You're like, cavity. And that non integrated format that medicine generally practices in, very siloed, does not look at the whole experience and say, oh, this is a woman who may be experiencing peri through postmenopause, the menopausal merry-go-round. Maybe this bone loss is part of that, right? It's all fragmented. Other things you can look at are things such as frozen shoulders, stiff shoulders, joint pain, increased rates for heart disease. Heart disease is actually the number one killer for Black women. And one of the things when you look at that are there's two different factors around that even. We'll get into that later, but Black women generally experience menopause at a rate of 2 to 3 times more as far as time in menopause than their colleagues. You can look at anything that goes from vaginal dryness, right? Painful sex. You can look at anything that also goes with hot flashes, right? That's a big thing that's talked about. One of the interesting things can also be irritability with the mood swings, right? You can have taste and smell changes, right? Something that you completely loved completely makes you go, nah, I don't want it near me because your hormones are fluctuating. So there's a lot of things that can happen in that magical merry-go-round of menopause.
Yes. And I love that you talk about the merry-go-round. And I like to call it like the umbrella of menopause, like everything that it encompasses. And you're right. The terminology can be very confusing because if you're being told, oh, you're in perimenopause, that's leading up to menopause, but you're not quite there yet. So don't worry about it. Suddenly you don't have to worry about it because you're not actually in menopause yet. But that's bull crap because we all know that in perimenopause, you have lots of fluctuations and that the whole experience, the whole umbrella of perimenopause and postmenopause is really a continuum of things changing in your body over the course of a good 10 years or more. You know what I mean? We really have to focus on all of it and not just say, okay, we're just going to wait around to do anything about it until we're in menopause and until we're so exhausted that we're, hitting a telephone pole or something while we're driving. This is not what we need to do. We need to start paying attention to our bodies and really getting in tune with ourselves so that we can really take care of ourselves through the whole journey. Because really, when you think about menopause or postmenopause in general, it will take up at least 1/3 of our lives. Over 35% of our lives is going to be spent in this time of our lives. So why not try to make it the very best that we can make it? And when we are ignoring symptoms because we're not in menopause yet, we're only in perimenopause, so we don't have to worry about it yet, we are really doing ourselves a disservice in terms of our health. And I know that for Black women and Latina women, underrepresented women, when we go to the doctors, we're often, and I find this so much, yes, it's you have a question, you might have 5 questions, you might have a list of questions,
Yeah.
and you may walk out of that conversation or that doctor's appointment not having addressed any of them because they just don't give you the time of day. I know I've had that experience myself. And I'm in the medical field and I am always prepared for my appointments. And so could you just explain to me like your experiences, and let's give it some talk around this conversation, because it's so important for us to be able to empower ourselves and advocate for ourselves when we do reach out to medical professionals.
Sure, Eve. That's a great question. In fact, I have 3 questions that I call the green flags when you're going in to talk to a practitioner surrounding what is your magical merry-go-round of menopause moment. So, one of them is, have you or are you specializing in any of the challenges that come around the magical merry-go-round of menopause? Yes or no? Given the fact that the average doctor studies what happens in the magical merry-go-round of menopause for a month or less, this is a vital question to have answered, because if the person does not have deep training, they should not be dealing with you at this very important segment. The second question that you want to ask when you speak to a medical or being provider is, what are the most recent developments in the field of menopause that you can speak to me about, which may be impacting how I'm feeling now? AKA, have you done your homework? If you've
Right.
not done your
No.
homework, good ma'am or sir, good
Mhm.
he, she, and they, leave me alone. You do not go underneath my hood with a wooden spoon from the kitchen, right? You need to have the right tools, right? And one of them is having up-to-date information. And the third thing is, if you are not the right person for me to speak to, would you have someone that you could recommend? Because when I look at this holistically, and we look at the fact that We The Aunties works on what we really call an integrated menopause awareness system, the thing is, it's not always that the doctor wants to walk out or practice without knowing, right? You have specialties, you do the best you can with the system that was there at the point when you were in school. Doctors, however, speak just like everyone else with colleagues. And someone they know may be actually one of the top in perimenopause treatment. Someone may be really great at menopause support. Someone might be really a specialist at postmenopause continuums, right? So just ask the question. You have nothing to lose because you're already there talking to a medical professional or a well-being provider. So those are the 3 questions I say go into any situation that you're dealing with your magical merry-go-round. The other thing is that you have to prepare yourself. Here we go, more emotional burden for us, but it's the way it is for now, with a little bit of research on the back end, right? So there are resources that you can look for on We The Aunties on our website. We list them, in other places they're listed, where you can look for who are providers in your community who may be specialists. That is something that I behoove everyone to do. Look for who is in your community who is a specialist. And that is a good way to get ahead of the curve. Just like 3 numbers that pop in my mind. The average Black woman has earlier onset for menopause, 8.5 months earlier than her colleagues. And the duration from peri to quote unquote post is 10 years. Whereas our Latina sisters usually kick in a little bit earlier, anywhere from 5.5 months earlier, and stay in that magical merry-go-round anywhere from 6 to 8 years. And where our Caucasian sisters may be in it anywhere from 2 to 4 years as an average. So what we're looking at is obviously a double index of the amount of time that I have to deal with hormonal changes and everything that impacts in my body, which is devastating, given the fact that there is therefore the second tier of a lack of agency a lack of access, and a lack of information about what we're doing when we move through this whole magical merry-go-round. My
I love
experiences were really interesting. I ended up going to 4 different doctors, which again, I have to say is a privilege. A lot of people
right.
don't have the opportunity. They don't have that
Sometimes
time.
they go to one and that's it. And then they're like, now what? I guess I got to deal with it on my own. Right. So
Right?
it is a privilege to be able to go from one to the other, not finding answers. So you're like, you know what? I'm going to keep looking.
Yeah.
So continue. Sorry.
No, not at all. And I'm completely aware that it's something that's not a norm. There are cases reported where women have gone to 18 different doctors, and I have to caveat it with that is a privilege, right? If you're talking about over indexing of household, head of household, right? A lot of Latina and Black women carry that magnificent crown, right? As head of household. Our time can be crunched, right? There we go, right? There we go. There we go, Hermione, with the crown, right? So here we
Yes.
are, time crunched. When are we really going to 2, 3, 4, 5 doctors, right? Let's just really be honest here about this conversation.
Are you in perimenopause or postmenopause and wondering about hormone replacement therapy? As a pelvic floor physical therapist, I help women to navigate this time of their lives. Did you know that 30% of our lives will be in menopause? It's important to try to strive for optimal levels of hormones in your body. What I use is parlor games. I use the Silky Peach Cream, and that's the estrogen cream. And I use the Vibrant Third, and that's the progesterone cream. And I cycle that throughout the month. You want to make sure that your levels remain optimal throughout your life so that you can enjoy vaginal health and an amazing sex life. So check out in the show notes the link to get your own today.
So the ability to go to multiple doctors already speaks about a certain amount of agency and a certain amount of access. That is not the norm. The second thing is, I'm pretty sure you'll roll up into this, but HRT. Why do we have to pay out of pocket when guys can get that stuff covered? It's called Viagra.
Right. Yes. Let's talk about hormone replacement therapy now
Yeah.
because it's so key for so many women. And I know that a lot of women, we're talking about women that are entering into menopause because they're aging, right? But there's also a huge amount of women that have entered into menopause because they had cancer treatments or some kind of medication that they need to be on for one diagnosis or another, right? That has caused them to enter into menopause early. It may be sometimes even their 20s or 30s. So let's talk about what can be done for women and what we can do to really help ourselves to feel better. And one of those things is hormone replacement therapy. Why don't you jump on in and tell me what you know about all of these good things?
All of these goodnesses. Eve, that's a great question. So HRT, hormone replacement therapy, has been in existence for decades. Most recently and most commonly, as we know, our testosterone family members can usually get their own version of HRT in the form of Viagra or something else easily covered by their insurance and benefits, right? But for women, our HRT, which helps us deal with the magical merry-go-round of menopause, which consists of different progesterone, estrogen, and sometimes testosterone identicals to help replace what's being moved out of our body, is paid for generally out of pocket. Again, if we look at disparity, if we are more than half of the world's population, and there are 50 million women in America as we speak experiencing the magical merry-go-round of menopause, and 1.5 billion women will be in the magical merry-go-round of menopause in 2025, which is about 2 seconds from now. Why would we be forced to pay out of pocket to make sure that our brain functions, to make sure that our hearts work, to make sure that our bones are not creaking and breaking, to make sure that we have pleasure when we are having intimate relations with our partners? That is a whole heck lot of, and I'm just like, what are you telling me here?
The Twilight music playing, right?
Little Twilighters when you get real about it, right? So the fact that is what is available to us is horrific that we'd have to pay out of pocket. Again, if we add, this is so systemic, the over indexing is head of household in underrepresented communities, right? So now we get to be head of household and pay out of pocket for this.
I mean,
Thank
even birth control is even birth control is now being legislated. And whereas we were getting paid birth control now, it may not be happening in the future, which is insane because now that our rights are being taken away around abortion, then we can't even have our birth control paid for. This is a major problem. Women's health is such a major issue that we all need to really be aware of and advocating for ourselves so that we can have these things being paid for through our insurance, because hormone replacement therapy is essential
Yes.
to our health.
Yes.
It is essential to our health. And for many years, we were told by the medical community that it was actually dangerous to our health. And so many women suffered for many years that didn't have to suffer. And so now that we know and we're on the other side of that, and all of those studies that had been done were debunked, and we know that hormone replacement therapy is good for us, right? And we need it in order to have the best years of our life in that last third of our lives, right? Now we really need to figure out how we can advocate to get this medication paid for. And I absolutely agree with you. And that is why I use a topical cream, progesterone and estrogen, and it's out of pocket. It's over the counter. It's bioidentical hormones. But you're absolutely right. You should be able to go to your gynecologist and say, I need hormone replacement therapy and I need you to put me on this medication. And I know that in my experience, I had this conversation with my gynecologist last year, and she said, oh, you're not actually in menopause yet. You're in perimenopause, so you don't need the medicine yet. And she didn't give it to me, and she wouldn't give it to me. So I had to go another way to get it for myself. And it made such a huge difference. So it's very frustrating. It is what it is at this point.
Yeah, it's archaic, it's trite, and as the kids would say, it's just plain tired. And it's really challenging to consistently go ask for what you think you need and be told no. And here's the other thing with the HRT. Now, for HRT, for hormone replacement therapy, again, we are not medical practitioners. Talk to your medical advisors, do a lot of research. For some people, it is not the right fit. For some people, it is the perfect fit. For the people that it is a perfect fit for, it really does help us combat the things that we often see in elders who have not been exposed to this. Early onset dementia, and dementia over indexes for women. This is one of the things that HRT can help us do, combat that, right?
That's huge.
It's so huge. Cannot get out of the chair later, weak muscles. This weakening of the muscles, when you have estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone flooding out of your body, one of the things that happens is possibly weight gain. There's that freshman 20 that comes to you. I know I'm having a good time with that. Or there's the weakening of your muscles, right? Because of the hormones leaving your body. Without consistent walking, without consistent strength training, without consistent flexibility and movement, whether that's yoga, any of those things, you're going to have less and less muscle tone. That's what happens when you go visit Tia and she cannot get out of the chair because Tia didn't have that information. My point and our point at We The Aunties is no auntie should be left behind. No Tia should be left behind. This is crazy. And we don't do crazy things on purpose. We want to stop the crazy making and the crazy makers from making our lives more complex.
100%. And let's jump into sexuality and sexual health, right? Because this is what the show is all about. And I want to make sure that we talk about that. What are the changes that you see during menopause? Let's just call it menopause as the whole umbrella term, that affect our sexuality. Do you want to just dive into that?
For sure. I'd like to say that there are probably about three main things that affect sexuality during the magical menopause merry-go-round. One, societal stigmas. There is an ongoing story, a tied trope, consistently saying that we don't either get it on or we don't want to. Believe you me, somebody is about to catch it sometime soon. Okay. I want it. I want it now. I want it tomorrow, and I want it the day afterwards. All right. Don't get me twisted. Always. Hello.
Yes.
What's up, honey, baby? Who warm me up? So there's a tired trope of that. Okay. The second one is that there can be marked changes in people's libido, and their overall desire. And the third thing is that there can be marked changes in things such as vaginal dryness, also in the strength of the vaginal walls, right? But let's pack the other two first and see how we got there.
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about the overall societal trope that we don't want it, then that makes you feel weird when you do. Right? Now, someone like me, I'm not going to care. But for someone else who may be less throat chakra centered, they may be less prone to be like, girl, I really want some now. No, because they might therefore be called outlier auntie. Okay. The second thing is, right? And when we talk about conversations on ladylike behavior and what do ladies do, we see how that starts packing on our throat chakra, right? There's a song, I believe is Summer Walker. Girls want some too, right? But I took one of the Gen Z babies to sing the song, right? Not to say that Eartha Kitt didn't have her own song, Santa Baby, but I'm just saying these are very interesting that come out, right? The second one is around that decreasing in challenges that may happen, whether it's decreased vaginal wetness, therefore increased vaginal dryness, and changes in the structure of the vagina. Regular sex helps with that.
Yes, that's true. Atrophy, absolutely.
Yes, helps with vaginal atrophy, helps with pelvic floor prolapse, those types of things. But again, we are in a society that is capital first. Our shelves are flooded with all kinds of adult diapers. But let me tell you how far down the rabbit hole you'd have to go to find a pelvic floor muscle trainer. Let's see how far down the rabbit hole you'd have to go to figure out which exercises may actually work for you. Let's see how far down the rabbit hole you'd have to go to find out what Benoit balls do or what Kegels really work like and how they actually can help you. Again, me being the outlaw auntie, I have been a fan of a Benoit ball since I had that first child. The second thing is, if you are in different places and in different cultures, I happen to be an EU citizen as well. In France, they automatically, with the birth of each child, train you on pelvic floor muscle exercises because they care about their citizens.
It's amazing. It's amazing what a difference, truly. Yes.
But here, there is a 12.75 increase in the sales projected for 2026 for adult diaper industry. They're just selling it to us instead of telling us how can we work on these things ourselves. And the third thing is when we're in these situations and we're talking about sexuality and what a woman wants and what we desire, one of the challenges goes back up to that whole societal conversation, right? So by fighting against that, one of the things that We The Aunties does is help people find their voice, as you do, Eve, right? But that is as a challenge in a life work. So there are some changes that can be vaginal dryness. There are some changes that can be vaginal atrophy. There are some changes that can be pelvic floor prolapse. The solution is not immediately and always, where's the surgery with the mesh? Where's the adult diaper? And here, take these pills, right? And that's one of the things I think is a benefit that Gen X is nosy and loud and communicative. And so I feel like it's awesome that we get to be alive in this time and find other solutions, such as pelvic floor muscle training, pelvic floor exercises. How do Benoit balls possibly help for you? How does Kegels really help or work for you? All those types of things, which are important. And an orgasm away helps keep a lot of blues away. It works with all of that at once.
Yes, all of the amazing chemicals, biochemicals that are released into our bodies make us feel so good when you have an orgasm. Yeah. So keeping that going throughout your life is so key to joy and happiness. And we all want joy and happiness. Yeah. And I love that you bring up the pelvic floor. And I am a licensed physical therapist, and I treat conditions of the pelvic floor, and I treat sexual health conditions. So this is exactly right up my alley. I treat things like decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness, which is one of those symptoms of that umbrella of menopause. And so there are treatments out there that people should know about. And that's what this is all about, is really talking about those treatments. And pelvic floor therapy is one of those things that is so essential. And for women that are giving birth, and in France, they give it to you automatically. And yet we have to seek it. And a lot of people don't even understand or know that there is such a thing as pelvic floor therapy, because it's really not often spoken of.
Pocket a lot of times.
And you have to pay out of pocket a lot of times too. And not only that, but you'll have one pelvic floor or two pelvic floor clinics in the area that have 6-month or 8-month waiting lists, because there's so many people trying to get in to get this type of therapy, because there's just not a lot of practitioners. And the pelvic floor and the vagina is all muscles, right? It's a lot of muscles. And just like any other part of your body can atrophy if you're not using it. So you're absolutely right. Sex helps with that, right? But if you're experiencing painful sex, if you're experiencing incontinence, if you're experiencing prolapse, if you're experiencing, did I say painful sex?
Yeah, I think so. But you know what?
Okay, all of those things, right? Decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. All of these things have the potential to be treated in a pelvic floor therapy clinic. So if you're listening to this and you're out there and saying, oh, these are things that I have experienced, look in your area to see if you can find a pelvic floor therapist in your area, because it's going to change your world. And I have to say, for me, once I introduced hormone replacement, I had been experiencing incontinence, stress incontinence after my kids. And I would sneeze, or I would cough, or I would laugh really hard, and I'd have to immediately run to the bathroom. And it was embarrassing and frustrating. And as soon as I introduced hormone replacement therapy and estrogen into my body, the tissue of my vagina and the tissue surrounding my bladder strengthened, because estrogen is part of the tissue complex. And so once you have exactly, right? If there's receptors in your skin down there that are attached, that estrogen attaches to, and it makes the skin stronger. So once I had that, my skin was stronger, and guess what? The incontinence disappeared on its own. Sometimes just knowing this information is the first step, because once you start having the information, you can start doing things that can help you in all of these regards. So we are starting to get to the point where we need to jump into our role play, and I'm super excited about the role play today.
I'm always excited about role play.
Yes, exactly. Role play is a lot of fun in and out of the bedroom, right? So today we're going to do out of the bedroom, but we're going to be talking about, and I have to say, we didn't talk about your moo-moo, We The Aunties moo-moo. Yes, we need to talk about that before. But I've got my moo-moo on today, and I'm like,
baby, flawless.
I'm very comfortable. But let's talk about our role play. So we're going to talk about masturbation today, and I'm going to be talking about, anyway, we'll just jump right in and action. So Davida, I have something really embarrassing that I want to talk to you about, and I'm hoping that you won't judge me too much, because I have been feeling like I'm just not getting what I need in the bedroom with my partner.
I hear you on that, girl. I can't point a finger at you without pointing 4 back at me. So let's bring it in. So you're feeling like you're not getting what you want in the bedroom. Girl, have you been taking care of yourself, though? Yourself?
What do you mean, like touching myself?
Yes. Have you been masturbating? Do you have any favorite vibrators? Do you have any favorite toys that you just indulge with for yourself?
I touch myself sometimes, but I have to say that I usually just get bored and stop, and then I don't go to completion, because I had a vibrator, but it is dying on me. And so I haven't really been touching myself as often as I used to when it was working properly. And yes, tell me what you think.
That's a terrible place to be in. Believe you me, one time I had a vibrator and it died right before I hit the mountaintop. And I literally almost threw that thing across the floor. I was so pissed off. So let me tell you, I've found that being able to take care of myself at the top of the morning every morning is really a game changer for my mood, for my resiliency throughout the day, and for me being able to deal with anything my partner may throw at me. It also makes me a little bit more affectionate when it's time for us to get down because I've already taken care of myself. So I have less pressure to put in that situation. So my question is, I heard you about not finishing yourself. Have you gotten yourself in touch with a really good series of vibrators? There's some really great ones out there. And I'm telling you, they can really help you get there sooner. And you'll have all kinds of way to play. Eventually, you can introduce your partners to them. And who knows, it might bring the tiger out the cage.
I love that idea because I have definitely, it takes me longer to get there with my partner. And I think that's like part of the frustration too. So introducing toys would be a great idea. So tell me which ones are your faves?
Well, honey.
End scene.
Yes. Well, honey, right?
Well, that could be a whole nother episode,
right?
which I've done.
Well, honey, you saw the hair had to move for that. Well, honey.
Well, let me tell you all about my toys.
Yes, exactly.
Listen, this is the week of the holidays, so we're talking all about toys and whatnot. And we have had a couple of episodes about toys. And I personally love the Rose. That's my favorite. Tell me what your favorite vibrator is.
This thing called the French tickler.
Okay, the French tickler.
Girl, I've had many a friend. This one may be my perfect life partner.
Okay.
Girl.
Yes.
Yes.
Tell me what it does that you love so much.
I really like about it because it's you charge it, and then it has a very, what do I want to say, pliable flutter. It's just basically like a flutter piece of latex. So it's curved like a tulip, and it flutters at different speeds depending on how you want to change the vibration. So it can go like this, and you can turn it around this way. So you might get the back of it. And it's so great because you can, depending on sensitivity for your clitoris, for vulva, you can put it on nipples. Honey, it is a full body treat, and it goes in the water.
And it goes in the water. So you can take a bath or shower with it too, which is really great. And something that you do want to look for when you're looking for toys, if you are going to use them in the shower or the bathtub, is that they are safe in the water. Great point. I love it. And so check that out. And on pleaseme.online, I have a curated store of amazing vibrators, all sorts of ones. I have one that looks like a little lipstick that you can just throw in your purse and have with you at all times, because we should always be prepared. Always. Once again, this has been such a really fun conversation, Davida, and I want to make sure that my listeners can find you. So where can we find you?
All right. Thanks so much, Eve. This has been awesome. You can find us at wetheaunties.club, which is where we are in our digital space, and at We The Aunties everywhere. If you are looking for programming or education for your community, for your organization, or for your decision makers and the benefit space, be sure to reach out to us at info@wetheaunties.club. Or if you need a mood party, baby, because those are great ways to get everyone in the room, in the mix, talking, doing what they need to do, and having a blast. You can even look as good as Eve while you do it.
Yes, tell me about the Moo Party really quickly. Tell me how you structure that.
Yeah, so Moo parties are bespoke and they're really structured around different needs. But the main format is that there is a mixer. Usually there is some sort of theme. And the theme is really anywhere from, you can have it for your friend's 55th birthday party and we get 20 women together. We have a Moo party where we also make sure that we have the opportunity to discuss some of the things that are happening in the peri to postmenopause wheelhouse. You can also have ones for larger scale where you're really looking at it more as like breakout rooms, but with fun mixers and games being played, the opportunities to talk about some of your favorite toys. What toys are working? What do you want to do with this? So really it's a theme that's based on what the client needs. For community-based being mixers, we look at opportunities to really talk about different things that we're experiencing in our body, as well as ongoing ways to make sure that we stay in charge of our well-being. You could throw some music in there. You could throw some mimosas in there. But the main thing is to get together these women who are in the powerful, magical go-round of menopause age and find different themes and opportunities for us to laugh, kick back, and to get real about what our bodies are going through, because it's a lot more intimate than going down the rabbit hole called Google.
I love that. Yes. And you know what? 2025 is going to be the perfect time for me to host and collaborate with you one of these really fun moo parties. I think it's so fun. And I was just at Art Basel with a friend of mine who is also in that merry-go-round. And as we were walking around and seeing all of the fabulous outfits, every time someone had like a moo-esque type outfit, she was like, there. That's what I want to be wearing now. That's what I want to be wearing now. And she was always like the bodycon, like sexy, like fitted dresses. The extra weight gain that has come on recently has made her want to just be like in muumuus and in comfort gear all the time. So I love the concept of this. I think it's so much fun. And we definitely have to have a party coming up soon. So let's definitely talk about that.
I look forward to this. I know you're going to bring the fun and the moo and I'm so thrilled about that.
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to make sure that my listeners out there, if you love this episode as much as I did, make sure that you pick up your phone right now and share it with somebody or two or three. This is how podcasts grow. And I appreciate you sharing the love of Please Me with your friends and family. So once again, thank you so much, Davida, for being on the show today. And until next time.
Thank you so much, Eve, for having me. And it's a blast. We got plans for joy.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Taylor Sparks has been my guest on Please Me twice, and during our last show, we created a curated store of my very favorite sex toys, lubes, and sexy accoutrements. These all-natural products are not only game changers to add some spice to the bedroom, but also safe to use on all your sensitive bits. Remember, lube is for everyone, and sex toys are to be enjoyed solo or with a partner. So don't be shy and go treat yourself to a new fun and sexy toy or two. See the show notes for the link to the store. Happy shopping!